Come in, come in, come in. Wherever you are, come on in. Oh my gracious, gracious, gracious. I'm so excited, y'all. I can't wait for you to come in so that we could talk. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Come on in, come on in. Whew. I'm so excited. Oh, the stream is taking such a long time to get up. Oh, I can't wait. I am going to sleep for the ages. I cannot wait. And I'm going to check whether or not I have class tomorrow because, that's the day before Thanksgiving. Let me just confirm with my classmates. Let me just confirm. Let me confirm while I'm waiting for you all to come in. Come on in. Come on in. Oh my goodness, I have such great news. Hold on. Let me confirm with my classmates that there's no class tomorrow. Hold on. Where is it? Here. Let me go. Where is it? Here's the core. Okay. Hey. Let me do exclamation point. Just confirming there is no class tomorrow, right? All right, I just sent the message. Welcome in, everybody. You know what? Let's go ahead and get live on every platform because I'm tired and I need rest. So I'm going to just get live and then just go get me some rest. All right. We're live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on Twitch. I didn't even play any music or nothing. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. All right. So listen, I'm Tonya TKO. I'm your host. And as you all know, I am in grad school. I'm a psych major at the graduate level, and I'm at an Ivy League institution that is very competitive and very, you know what? I won't say it's competitive. It was competitive to get in, but now that we're in, it's just a rigorous program. It's just a rigorous program. And so you all know that I'm taking critical theory of trauma, and we've been discussing different traumatic themes all throughout the semester. I've been keeping you up to date with it. I'm a little behind with my weekly updates, but hopefully I could catch up tomorrow if there is no class, right? And so we had trauma from like a Me Too kind of movement kind of thing. We had racial trauma. We had gender trauma. We had trauma in sexuality. We had trauma of war. We had father-daughter trauma. We had all different types of traumas that we discussed, right? And so for the final, so I showed you all my midterm. I posted it on my blog for you all to see. You all liked it, right? For my midterm, I even forget at this very moment because my mind is, like I said, I didn't get sleep last night because, I'm planning this retreat and I did like 3-4 videos last week, which I really needed that time to be studying and doing my work, but I did the videos nonetheless, and I'm happy I did them. However, it did leave me in a position where I had to pull an all-nighter to finish my final. So my final was a 10-minute presentation where I had to show mastery of a topic focusing on one of our readings. So I decided to focus on trauma of war, the trauma that the soldiers faced, and I likened it to the trauma that Black people face as prisoners of war. So Black people have been imprisoned. So let me tell you, oh my goodness, in one of the first few slides, right? I did end up talking about slavery because the person who was supposed to come after me didn't come to class today, so I had extra time. And I'm glad I did because there was questions. Oh my goodness, there were so many questions afterwards. And I was answering those questions. So I had 10 minutes for the presentation, but boom, boom, I sealed that deal up. I sewed it up tight. when I was answering questions. So nonetheless, the first slide, I came out the box calling those European terrorists and the Africans prisoners of war, because they try to act like they were gentlemen and like they were refined. No, you were a barbarian. You're a terrorist. You went over to somebody else's land and you trafficked them, multitudes of people, and then you murdered, slaughtered, raped even children. So no, you're not a gentleman. You're a fucking terrorist. You know what? I'm not going to go too far because I'm tired. I got to still be mindful. I got to still keep it demure. So nonetheless, I came out the box calling them terrorists and calling the Africans prisoners of war. And then I just went into details. But let me tell you, I had an epiphany after we got offline, and YouTube was doing something with my video that I did earlier, I think because of maybe some keywords or some buzzwords, because they held my video in some sort of vortex for hours. And so I don't even know if the video is released. It's not even released from the vortex because I can't even change the thumbnail. Like, the thumbnail is like weird, but my video is being reviewed. I guess some of the stuff I talked about raised some flags or whatnot. That's fine, whatever. So I had an epiphany after we got off, and I wanted to write a comment, but the video wasn't even showing up in my timeline. I showed the people behind the scenes. The epiphany that I had was about the homoeroticism that exists in rap music. Oh my goodness, because it's a psych class. So you got to throw some homoeroticism in there. If you talk about some childhood issues or some homoeroticism, some sexuality, some sexual deviance, you in like Flynn. When I started talking about the homoeroticism, oh my goodness. So let me just give a shout out, Antoine. Thank you so much for that lyric from Cameron, because listen, I played the song for them. When I first read the lyrics, I was like, ew, that's so disgusting, but I really wanted to focus on murder, but I'm glad that I didn't, because black people killing black people, some people just don't care. But when I read that lyric about, I'll make you eat your mother out after I done dug her out, oh, everyone in the class was disgusted. They had secondhand trauma just hearing that. And the crazy part is that I did the alley-oop on them. For those of you in the basketball world, I did the alley-oop. And I played them, a bit of the song. And I saw, oh my goodness, let me tell you. We have like one girl in my class. She's a war reporter. And she is a anti-rape advocate, right? And when I was playing that song, she was bopping to it, right? Other people in the class was jamming, moving left and right. And then I stopped the song and I said, did you catch it? I said, that's the song that lyric is in, but it has such upbeat, lively music that you're sitting there dancing, and that's when the pleasure of the cathartic experience happens, where you're seeing these images and you're, the buzzwords I had to throw in there. I had to throw them in there, right? And I was like, you're sitting there and you're having these messages entering to your mind. I'm like, you're listening to lively music while this man is talking about incest, forced incest, and rape. I mean, that's what I'm gonna make you eat your. Who comes up with this type of thing? And then I showed the mural of him like he's some hero. I even I got political in there. I talked about the Jews and the record industry. I even talked about Trump and Kamala, and I talked about that came up in the end. So I did go a little bit over, but it didn't even matter because nobody was really keeping hard and fast time. Seemed like everybody was going over. So I did about 13 and a half minutes of my talk. I talked about everything that I wanted to pretty much. And then I opened it up for questions, and the questions were coming at me, boom, bam, boom. The best part about all of this is that people were coming up to me after. They was like, wow, great presentation, great, wow. Like, they were stunned. And one of the biggest compliments is that when other people were doing their presentations, the professor was kind of typing on her computer. It looked like she was doing some work. But when I got up there, oh, all eyes were to the front. Let me tell you, ears were peaked. I threw some profanity and some curse words in there. Not only that, when I started talking about the homoeroticism, people's light bulbs started going boof, 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 boof. So listen to where the homoeroticism comes in. So we were talking about in the presentation, we were talking about, I'll pull up the thing for you all, right? I'll pull it up, and then let me get this. All right, here. I'll pull this here. All right. So this was my presentation. For those of you who didn't see the thing this morning, this was it, right? And so this is when I call them European terrorists. You can pause to read, put it up on your TV, right? And this is the paper that I was basing my stuff off of. This is, you can find this on Google Scholar, PubMed, or Taylor, EDU, and all of that. So we talked about I went through all of this. We talked about the similarities between soldier trauma, POWs, and then I likened the POW trauma to African Americans, the same distrust of authority, all of that. So I made the case, let me tell you, I made the case. I talked about, you know, the same type of disease that shows up in POWs shows up in African Americans by exponential amounts over our counterparts, right? So here, this is the part that I wanted to show you all. Hey, Edith is loving the channel. Welcome, Edie. Welcome. Welcome. So this is the part I was telling you all about. The father tellings are injected. They slide in through an opening that can't be seen. They slide in at a point of attachment, a kind of umbilical attachment, binding father to son. The opening changes character when these stories flow through. The opening takes on muscle and force, male bodies, hard, muscular, forceful, binding, the point of. And so this is basically a father who was a soldier, and he did some horrific things, like he blew up babies, right? Like he threw some grenades into a building, turns out it was a nursery, and then he starts telling his son about these body parts of babies all over the place. So the son never consented to this forceful intrusion, right? And so the original author of this paper, Botticelli, talks about the homosexual kind of feel to forcing, like men forcing themselves on other men in various ways, physically, psychologically, mentally, all different types of ways. So when I talked about the rap lyrics, so we went from here to Who Shot Ya, right? Oh, I wish you would have told me about this, Gregory, beforehand, but you didn't help me write my paper. You're not a part of the tech squad. You got to be a part. So nonetheless, right? So nonetheless, in the song Who Shot Ya, Biggie takes a gun and put it in a man's mouth, and then he pulls the trigger. So I equated that to a phallic symbol being filleted, forced fellatio of this phallic symbol, and then the ejaculation of the bullets. Oh, the class, oh, they didn't know what to do with themselves. When I went there, the class jaws were dropped. Things started to make sense, right? And then I went here and we talked about the Biggie lyrics that were traumatizing. So shout out to my sister for giving me that, right? And then here's the Cameron lyrics. I leave your mama and your papa wet from blood. Kidnap your family, make your brother eat your mother out. After I done dug her out, needles to drug her out, pillows to smother out. You don't give a F about, I'm what a thug about, right? And then that's just from the song 357. You can go listen to the song. So this is the mural of Cameron, like he's some doggone notoriety, right? So this is the song 357, and I played it for them. I'll play a tiny bit of the beat for you so you can hear how upbeat it is.
Sending me flicks, girls sending me kicks.
All right, so it's upbeat. They were in a car chase with the police. It's glamorous. It's cute. It's like beautiful. All these vibrant colors. The police are being outsmarted. So you get this cathartic release from watching the bad guys get away from the cops, and you see all of that glamour and you know, the mystery, the intrigue, right? And then the lyrics. Where is the homoeroticism in the lyrics? The lyrics that I just showed you all. So, oh yes, and I also talked about Diddy with his open cases, and I talked about Biggie dying violently at the age of 24. I did make it, that was not lost on me. So with these lyrics, where is the homoeroticism? Think about it. He's fantasizing about R-wording a woman, right? And then he's fantasizing about a man putting his mouth where his member just was. And you know he's not going to be using protection. So what he's actually fantasizing about is this man tasting his semen. This is what it really is all about. That he is emasculating this man in this homoerotic style fantasy where now this man has his mouth where his body part just was. Tell me I didn't cinch it up. Tell me I didn't cinch it up. And then from there, so after class, I had lunch with a classmate and we were talking, and my classmate made the parallel to the rampant homophobia in the Black community. So, you know, in one of the questions, we talked about the rape statistics against Black girls. So look, when we got to this part right here, I was like, an enemy soldier on his way let me do it again. The enemy soldier on his way to the can to take a shit. I'd kill that poor effer. At least I'd hit and enjoy it, right? So people thought I was rapping I was like, imagine that to a popping beat. Sounds just like rap music. Fireworks were going off in people's minds because these are the words of the father who's the soldier telling his son these traumatic stories. So when I went there and I said the lyrics out, they were like, oh my gosh, that does sound like rap. So then the parallels were made in the art itself, right? And then so we got to the data about this is about the powerlessness that Black men have faced from the oppressor. And this also relates to the Stockholm syndrome of them. And listen, the homoeroticism, I didn't get a chance to get into this, but the homoeroticism of a Black man wanting the white man's woman as a way of penetrating through the white man, through his woman by proxy, because he believes that the white man's DNA is more beautiful. He believes that the white man's DNA is better. So in the closest effort that he can get to penetrating the white man, he penetrates the white man's woman. Listen, it gets deep. It gets deep because Black men are constantly telling you how they're thinking about white men when they're getting with their women. Is that not homoerotic enough for you? All right, just think about it. Think about it, right? I wish I had gotten to that point, but it was fine because I said a lot of other points, right? So we talked about the powerlessness, and then we talked about the FBI stats of how 51% of the murders that are committed by Black people. And then I pushed this up there where Black people own less guns. They own less guns than white people, but we commit more murders, right? So here, see inside the middle here where it says that in the training that they give the soldiers, they stoke the recruits' narcissistic rage, which they will later direct against the enemy. But in the Black community, the enemy can be somebody else wearing a different color. The enemy can be somebody from a different block. So we have the enemy from without and we have the enemy from within, right? And how does that translate to the girls, to the men? So we talked about look at this right here. Touch may play as a medium of traumatic transfer. So using your hands to transfer trauma onto other people. What does that look like in the Black community? Researchers find that African American children are more likely to experience harsh physical punishments than white children. Even though the data clearly shows that physical violence against your children has adverse mental health, physical health, developmental, and behavioral outcomes for Black children, and it violates the children's basic human rights. So I went all in. I showed the graph of how Black people are above the curve in terms of beating and being violent against their children. And then when we got to the SA, touch as the transfer, as a means of traumatic transfer, that Black and mixed women are by far the most R-worded in our society. So these men are now transferring the trauma, because look at this. 94% of women who have been R-worded experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So now pushing this stress onto other people. So we don't have the ability not to consent. We don't consent to these lyrics because even if you don't want to hear them, people are blasting it through their cars, they're driving by, they're playing it on the radio. And so it's this constant non-consensual transfer of trauma through these lyrics, right? We went through it all. And I showed how in the areas where there's the most amount of black and white overlap population is where these people, even though they voted for Trump, the most searched terms in that area on Pornhub is ebony, right? And then I told people that if they wanted to see my sources, they were available. People asked me questions about a lot of different things. They really wanted to get into the catharsis of rap lyrics. So catharsis is like when you feel a healing through the release, right? And I was like, at some point, I'm like, because somebody was like, well, what about spoken word, where people are using, you know, the spoken word to disseminate their trauma? And I'm like, well, in spoken word, there's a variety of different topics. People are talking about the lake, the moon, their friends, loved ones. There's a lot of nuance. There's cloaked language. It's flowery. It's creative, right? And I'm like, there's also a variety of topics. But rap music, what becomes the popular rap music? There's just not a variety, especially now. I even went into Sexy Red, Glorilla. I started talking. I even said my blank is pink and my blank is brown. I really did. And people were stunned by how graphic I was. But this is what I'm saying. People are dancing to this music. Somebody in the comments said that they didn't even remember that Ready to Die had that phallic, you know, that forcing of the, you know, of that phallic symbol and the ejaculating the bullets down this man's throat in this homoerotic fantasy that Biggie had. And Biggie had a lot of homoerotic, you look so good, I'll suck your daddy's, you know what I'm talking about. So I rocked this presentation. There was questions. My little homie was grilling me. I have a little homie in the class. She was grilling me, talking about, you do like rap music. This is how you know those lyrics so well. And I'm like, no. But by the time they started talking about B's ain't S, but H and, you know, you can't even say, this is a whole alphabet. I can't even say the lyrics. But I did say them in class. I was very vulgar, very vulgar. And people were like talking about how I was transmitting trauma onto them by being so vulgar with the lyrics. I said, listen, by the time the professor assaulted us with that movie, I knew all bets was off. I said, I knew it was on then. And the professor laughed out loud, but this is the truth, ain't it? I didn't consent to seeing those images in the movie, and the professor forced that onto us. So, you know, let's talk about it. And we talked about it, and I answered questions for like 15, 20 minutes after. It was so good. Oh, somebody said I should be getting funded for this research. Well, you know, listen, I did the damn thing. There was a lot more research that I did, like on porn preferences and the overlap of moral injury. And I just did a lot of research, and I'm just so happy that it all came together. So it was good. It was good. I rocked it. I know I got an A, but you know, I did talk a little bit about Jews. I talked about how the Jews were continuing to pump out this music. And I'm like, and I said to the class, I said, listen, I said, if Biggie Smalls said, "Here, come here, Fido, open your mouth," and he was intimating putting a gun in a dog's mouth, and you hear the dog in the background whimpering, and then you hear him pull the trigger. I'm like, how many Caucasians do you think would sit there listening to this music? But because he's talking about, you know, murking another black man, all of a sudden they're dancing to it, they're vibing in their car. But if he was talking about murking Fido, because this is the programming that we have, that certain things are meant for black people, that black people are the permanent underclass. I talked about how we got poor white people voting against their interests just so that they could snub the N-words. And I didn't say, I wasn't going to use the N-word in front of these people, but I said N-word literally, but I wasn't going to say the actual word because, you know, no, I'm not giving you the satisfaction of me using a self-defaming slur. Well, not self-defaming because that doesn't describe me, but you know what I'm saying. So nonetheless, right? So I went there. I held nothing back, nothing. Nothing. Oh, somebody said they don't like that at the Ivies, girl. Listen, I said, you know what? They calling black women all types of bees in this music, but when Kanye West called a Jewish girl, started calling Jewish girls bees, you see how they shut him down and he lost sponsorships, etc. So it's like, let's talk about the truth. Let's talk about the truth, right? I mean, this is the truth, though, right? So I believe I rocked. There were some parts that were controversial, yes, but I rocked my final. I did. I did. I rocked it, y'all. So thank you to the people who helped me. Thank you to thank you Antoine for getting me that lyric because it wasn't a murder lyric like I originally wanted. Everyone in the class could feel that. Men and women alike. Everyone felt it. Everyone. Because it's so vile. It's vulgar, it's disgusting. There's no excusing it. There's no rationalizing forced incest and RAPE. There's no rationalizing that. And then forced incest after RAPE? No. No. So thank you all so much. I am going to talk just a little bit longer and then I'm going to see what you all have to say. And then I am going to get me some much needed rest because I am so tired because I was up all night and I got it done. It was like, because there was a lot of research that needed to be done, a lot. Plus the screenshots and the making of the slides and the practice and getting the script together. Well, not really a script, but the outline and saying it enough times that I could talk about it intelligibly. Because the first time I tried to go through it, I was stammering, I was messing up. I was like, oh, shoot. And so I'm glad and thank you all for helping me practice. I really bust this wide out the block. And I'm so glad that I put, some controversial psych terms in there that, got that titillated the people, like with that homoeroticism, I had to put that in there. I only wish that I had thought about the parallel between that and homophobia. Oh, I also said that this is another thing that I said because people asked me questions and I was like, they already know that they can R-word children. They already know that they can R-word women. But the ultimate conquest is to be able to force yourself on a man, to take his manhood, so to speak. And I talked about how I speak a few different languages, and in all the languages, I have never seen a word that describes intercourse from an empowering stance of the receiver. So we only have one word, which is penetrate, which is something that a person does to another person. There was a slide that I went past, must have gone past, but we didn't hear. Where is it? Right here, right here. The impenetrable penetrator. And so that is a lot of the juxtaposition. That's a lot of the posturing inside of rap music, that they are the penetrator and they are impenetrable. So they're constantly talking about, these homoerotic themes where they are the penetrator. Well, they penetrate women, girl, everyone. But the ultimate conquest is to take a man's manhood. That's the ultimate right there. They respect one another. There is no glory in being the recipient of their member because their member is a tool, an act of war. Their very body part is an act of war. And I talked about men being the ultimate conquest because let me tell you, there was a survey done in 2012 in the armed forces. There were 26,000 reports of SA. So sexual assault. 53% of them were with male victims at the hands of another man. So these men in the armed forces are forcing themselves on their brethren because from the top down, they're being emasculated by, the generals and the people above them. And then on their peer group, now they get the chance to snatch somebody's soul. I did the doggone thing with this. I did it. I really did. I showed up and I showed out. So I'm really happy about all of this. Oh, also, I see someone in the comments. I talked about, and I'm glad that I saw that name because there was another question that came in, and I talked about the movie Mysterious Skin and those horrifying images that they showed, the graphic images. And I was like, I read a paper on how art can be used as catharsis. And there was somebody who's in the chat right now who sent me a paper on how art can be used as a medium to disseminate those built up feelings on the inside. And I likened it to grunge music because, you know, my class is all white mainly, just one other black person in the class. And then there's a mixed person from Brazil. But everybody, you know, well, not all white because there's some people from the Middle East and China. So majority white, right? And I was like, that the lyrics can be cathartic, that part of the reason that they initially may have written these lyrics is for catharsis, but at some point, because one girl talked about the spiral down in Dante's Inferno and how that spiral actually led to a spiral up to Paradiso, right? And I was like, so just like that spiral down, I was like, at some point, it turns from being cathartic to actually being trauma porn because or being glamorized, because this is what's happening. People are glamorizing these images. And then my little homie in the class was like, well, white people are the biggest consumers of rap music, and so that must mean that they are identifying with it. And I'm like, no, they could just be thinking, yeah, that's what you deserve, that's your place, you're beneath me, and that this music maintains the status quo. There's no, you don't know what it is that they are feeling. But I did liken rap music and the cathartic release of hearing ultra violent lyrics. So the pleasure of being able to release that pent up energy, just like with grunge metal, where the people are like, right? And if you've ever heard grunge metal, you'd be like, this devil mute, the hell is this, right? Because they hollering and it sounds very crazy. But there are people who feel a cathartic release from listening to that. Who knows about grunge metal in here? Ciao. Oh. Yes, I did the doggone thing. I did it. And Khadija is saying, I can tell you deserve that post finals nap. I really do. And let me check and see if they're saying there's no class tomorrow, because let me see. I got an answer. Let me see. No classes. I'm going to sleep late tomorrow, or I'll get my blog post together because I'm about 3 weeks behind, because the last blog post I put up was week 9, but we're in week 12 now, so I got to catch up. So if you want to see my blog post, you can come over to my website and join my mailing list. And my mailing list, you can see it at the bottom of the page in the footer. You can join there. And I'm going to send out the blog like tomorrow. All right. So I got to get me some sleep today. Once I did my commute up to school, I actually got into the energy and stuff, and I just was vibrant for my thing. But then while I was sitting down eating with my classmate, because I celebrated getting some Japanese food after class, and I was just like so happy. And then like towards the end of the lunch, I was like, I'm so tired, I have to go. I got to get to my bed, right? Dove says, sounds like noise to me. Yeah, but some people feel a release, because when I had TKO Skin and I was hiring young people to, from this agency, like a lot of them like grunge metal, and I was like, and they had like upside down crosses on their back and stuff. And I was like, oh, who the hell I got in here with me? But people said they find it, to be releasing. So just like people can find release in these violent rap lyrics. So, but yes, I did the doggone thing. I was insecure and unconscious about working on myself. I listened to a lot of rap. But now that I'm growing and healing, I can't even really listen to rap anymore. I pay attention more to lyrics. Exactly. And I talked about being a certified clinical hypnotherapist and how, about how people say that writing is, like spelling is like spells. And, it's like while you're sitting there in a state of jubilation, those lyrics are going inside, and that subconscious mind does not sleep. So listen, thank you, Elle, for putting the link there to my website. It's tonyatko.com. The link is also in the description. And on that note, I am going to take a much-deserved rest. I'm going to take a much-deserved rest. I'm so excited. And so on that note, tell me your self-love lesson. My self-love lesson is about standing in my purpose, about going along the path, about taking a chance. You know, I took a chance, I applied, I did what it is that I needed to do to get my recommendations, and I wrote out my essay, and I was very truthful, like very truthful in my essay, and I got in. And I'm excited about the journey that's to come. Thank you all for being here along the journey with me. My self love lesson is about taking chances and listening to that internal guidance and standing in my purpose, because I really love the work that I'm doing. I feel like there's so much overlap with the work that I have been doing on YouTube, like talking about this thing. And let me tell you, Black people and white people alike, Asian people, all different types of people learned from my demonstration. Some people were numbers people. Some people were creative and they enjoyed the music and then the juxtaposition of the horrifying lyrics behind the jaunty beats. You know what I mean? So it was a piece that really covered a lot for a lot of different people. One of the biggest compliments that I faced afterwards is that people learned from it, and people were telling me what it is that they learned. Some people didn't know about the dis-ease. Some people didn't know about the similarities between African POWs and POWs of war, and it really brought it to light for people about what it is that we are truly going through and why we're going through this. There are psychologists that know more than I. I've only been in school for one semester, and yet we still have all of these problems in our community because people don't want to fix it. They feel that this is your natural station in life and this is where they want you to be. Somebody said you're going to be the talk of the town next semester. Well, you know, I'm actually, there's a sister school, there's a women's school that I can take classes at. And you all know that I am doing I'm doing a certificate in women and gender studies. So next semester, so what I think I'm going to do is, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a core class. So I'm doing it. So like this semester, my core class was retreat planning. Next semester, I'm going to do a core class of entrepreneurship, where I'm going to work on creating a retreat center in the Caribbean. That's what I'm going to work on. That's going to be my project. And by the end of the semester, it's supposed to be launched. So we're going to see if it's going to, because I'm going to do my darndest, just like I'm having my retreat at the end of this year. At the end of the spring semester, there should be something under works for me to open up a retreat center in the Caribbean. So I'm going to do a core class. I'm going to do a women and gender studies class, and I'm going to do a psych class. So I think that's how I'm going to set up my semesters, and I think I'm just going to push through that way. I think I'm just going to push with just covering those bases. So I think I'm going to take classes at a women's college next year, because for the feminism class. So the psych class on the female campus. So like I've been asking my classmates, because I have to curate my what my next semester is going to look like. So I'm thinking about taking a psych class. So like developmental trauma, not developmental trauma, what's the name of this thing? Let me see what this person called this thing. Give me 1 second. Let me check, because one of my classmates, okay. Yeah, so it's about the phases of developmental psychology as it relates from childhood through, I guess, a certain age, right? And so I'm like, so my classmate told me that this really covered all of the basics of psychology. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a look at the syllabus. So over this week, because registration is starting this coming week, and I got to get on the list for the classes that I want. So psych, women and gender studies, and a core class. And so that's how I'm going to do it. Wish me luck, because it's a lot. But I kind of got into a little bit of a groove with knocking through some of these readings, and so I'm really happy. I'm happy. I got through my final. I have one more final left, and then that'll be due next week, since there's no classes tomorrow. So I'm not gonna wait till the last minute. I'm gonna do that son of a gun over the weekend. So since it's my retreat planning class, I'll probably have to do something from my retreat. I haven't read it yet. But thank you all so much for coming along this journey with me. I hope that my successes, well, not even a hope, my successes are your successes. So congratulations to you all for assisting me, uplifting me, pushing me forward, inspiring me, as well as being here to help me disseminate information and kind of work through some theories. After I did that video earlier today was when I came up with the homoerotic juxtaposition. So with that, man, I'm telling you, the class was, they were chomping at the bit. They were chomping at the bit. And I take that as a great compliment because some people, when they were doing their presentation, some people in the class were on their phones. The teacher was typing, but the person was also reading, you know, they were reading from a paper. And so some people were paying attention, but because like everybody is a different type of learner, some people are very auditory. And so they're just going to listen to her read. But other people, so when everybody was like really engaged and they were vibing to the music, and then I had that gotcha moment and people were like, oh, 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 you know, it was amazing. I'm so happy. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to the people who send me readings to kind of catch up. Like somebody put something in the chat about POWs. Send that to me on my website, tonyatko.com, and click on contact, because this right here, it probably needs further expounding, because I don't think anybody who, oh, you know what? Joy DeGry has done some work in post-traumatic slave syndrome, but to liken us to POWs and to those people, to terrorists, those European terrorists, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, all right. So I will see you all. No, I have one more final next week, and then I'm good. So, but then after that, so next week, so that means that I'll have extra time to plan my retreat, because I'll be out of class by December 3rd or 4th, one of those, and then I'll have 10 days before the retreat. All right, you all, I will see you all in the next video. Tonya TK, I'll go out there and love one another. Most importantly, love yourself, and part of loving yourself, type your SLL. Did you learn anything about loving yourself from this video? Type your SLL while I get these lights turned off and stuff. Oh. Oh my gracious. Oh. My goodness gracious. All right, let's see. Anybody gonna type any SLLs? Because I don't know if anybody learned anything. I know that I always reflect on self-love lessons, whether the video is about self-love or not. I always reflect on the SLLs. Oh, I'm so excited that I rocked it, because, and I'm glad that I practiced, because that needed to be practiced. Oh. So my last final, I don't know what it is because I have not read the syllabus. I'm behind the curve, but I'm going to read it tomorrow. I honestly don't know what it is. It'll probably be a presentation from my retreat. So I'll probably have to do like one of the modalities from my retreat. So yeah. So let's see. Somebody is trying to get themselves blocked, and they did. All right, so I will see you all in an SLL. Start the hard conversations. Oh, really? What hard conversations are we talking about? I'm curious. Are we talking about like from my presentation or just from something else? Whew, goodness gracious. I'm telling you all, I am tired. When I say tired, I mean I am tired. I can't wait to just rest. Oh, start the hard conversation in regards to what? I want to hear that. I feel so good, and I've closed my exercise. No, I got one more ring to close. I got one more ring to close. I got my standing ring to close. I'm standing right now, so I'm just waiting for that thing, the alarm bells to go off. All right, so what else do we have? Oh, I can't wait to rest, y'all. I'm going to have such a good... I'm gonna rest easy, y'all, for real. I'm looking for them SLLs while I get myself together for a nice long slumber. I'm looking. Oh, no, you're not going to follow up with what? I think your presentation brings up a conversation that many people aren't ready to have. You think so? About what though? What conversation do you think people are not ready to have about us being POWs or what? My passions are worth pursuing because in my growth I can help and elevate others. Yes, that is so true. That is, or just haven't thought about. Okay, I can see some people haven't thought about. I can see that. 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 Yup. I can see that. Oh my gracious goodness. Let me tell you. All right. So listen, on that note, I am going to jump out of here and I'm going to get ready to have a nice long sleep. Okay, you all. Have a good night, everybody. Good night, good night, good night. Tonya TKO, and I'm out. Your passions for your classes has made me want to invest in some courses for my own passion. You know what? They have postgraduate courses. They have cooking classes, culinary arts classes, painting, whatever it is that you're interested in. Because listen, when you're dead, you're going to be dead forever. So look into the things that you're interested in now. All right. So listen, to the people who are coming to the retreat, I am going to get your test for you tomorrow. I did my test yesterday and it showed that I am not healthy. I'm not living a healthy life with leisure activities and hobbies in it. I have got to do some hobbies. I scored really low. So I have high stress and low leisure. I mean, it's no wonder. So it's like I have to, so from taking that test, so people who are coming to the retreat, I'm actually going to take a few more tests to kind of test out which one I feel is the best one for us to take. And then I'm going to send that to you all, hopefully tomorrow, but if not, by Thursday. All right. So I will see you all. SOL, I will prioritize personal growth and development. I definitely want to get back into school. I'm excited. Yes, yes, yes. Do it, Khadija. Do it. And you know what? The thing is that when you are lifted up, people by proxy get lifted up around you. Like me being in school is helping so many other people just by witnessing the process and kind of taking some of the fear out of it, you know, because I'm not a 19-year-old in school, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, do your thing, do your thing. All right, Khadijah's working on it now. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you all so much for coming out. Tanya TKO, and I'm out. Do